now. But the girl remained unconscious. Pastor Boko, disappointed, cried out again with his hands on the girl's head, "I declare your body free from all sickness in the name of Jesus." But nothing happened. The mother, angry, took her daughter and shouted, "False pastor! If only Pastor Kalu could touch my daughter, she would be healed instantly." Boko watched her leave his church with her daughter, feeling humiliated and ashamed. Two of his members followed the woman as she left. Unable to bear the shame, Boko ended the service early and gave the final blessing. Frank, who had observed the entire scene, stayed by his side after everyone had gone. Boko sat, discouraged, on one of the benches. Frank came to sit beside him and said once again, "You're not betraying God by meeting with Baba Kitty. You could bring more people to God with Baba's power. Imagine how many followers you'd have if you could perform miracles. You're a good pastor, but that isn't enough. Let Baba Kitty help you, or do you want to go back to your village as a failure?" In this vulnerable state, Boko could no longer refuse Frank's advice. He was deeply discouraged and willing to do anything to become like Pastor Kalu. Boko asked Frank to call Baba Kitty and tell him he was ready to visit his kingdom and meet the guardian Lulu. The next day, Baba Kitty arrived at the church and saw Boko and Frank with bags, as if they were going on a trip. Baba Kitty burst into laughter and told them that there was no need for bags since the journey would not be physical but spiritual. It was already 4 p.m., and Baba Kitty explained that the portal to the spiritual kingdom would open in 4 hours. They sat in the church and waited silently until the clock struck 8 p.m. When it did, Baba Kitty stood up and asked them to follow him. He walked to the pulpit wall, took a piece of chalk from his bag, and drew a circle on the wall like a door. Instantly, a portal opened, letting through a cold, intense wind. On the other side was a dark forest with strange trees. Boko and Frank, surprised and shivering with fear, were very anxious, but Baba Kitty told them not to worry. Neither Boko nor Frank had ever seen anything like it in their lives. Trembling, they followed Baba Kitty into the forest. They saw different types of trees. One had a mouth and eyes, another a human face, and another had its mouth wide open. This dark, ancient forest was very different from the human world. Boko, though terrified, trusted Frank and Baba Kitty. As they moved forward, Boko tried to convince himself to turn back, but he ignored the warnings in his heart. Boko told himself that he would bring more people to God by doing this. They walked on and on until they arrived in front of a very large temple with a human statue in front. Baba Kitty entered the temple and they followed him, but as soon as they set foot inside, a deep voice echoed, "Who dares enter my temple with shoes on their feet? Remove your shoes." Panicked, Frank and Boko quickly obeyed and took off their shoes. They advanced further into the immense temple and knelt before the altar. An old man appeared, with no eyes, a long white beard, and dressed in a robe that covered his entire body. In a resonant voice he said, "I am the guardian of Lulu, the 24th master and the supreme master of the kingdom of Lulu. What is it that you seek, mortals?" Narrow-minded, Baba Kitty responded to the 24th master, "Here are pastors who they wish to heal the sick, raise the dead, and prophesy. Please grant them this power, and they are ready to offer you their souls. Their glory will be yours, master." The master burst into a loud laugh and asked, "Are you prepared to give me your souls? Will you promise to bring me other souls as well?" Pastor Boko quickly agreed. The master pointed to a basin in a corner of the temple and instructed them to wash their hands, which they did. He then gave Boko a container and instructed him to always apply its contents to his lips before each service, so his followers would believe every word from his mouth without doubt. Then he handed him a second container, explaining, "Apply this on your eyes to have visions, to prophesy, and to heal by laying your hands. But one thing is crucial. Never mention the name above all other names, the one Christians call upon to perform miracles." Boko, confused, asked, "Do you mean the name of Jesus Christ?" Immediately, a violent clap of thunder roared, and a lightning bolt flashed through the temple. The master fell into a furious rage and shouted, "How dare you speak that name here? Did I not forbid you from mentioning it?" Baba Kitty prostrated himself, pleading, "Master, calm your anger. They are still new and may not know the rules. Remember, they are ready to serve you with their souls." The master calmed down and handed Boko a white bottle, saying, "Use this bottle to draw water from the living tree outside the temple. Sprinkle this water in the four corners of your church each day. Anyone who enters will never want to leave. Soon you will have many followers willing to defend and die for you." Boko smiled, pleased, as his dreams were finally coming true. The master then gave him a white chalk, explaining it would allow him to pass between the mortal and spiritual worlds. He also warned him to attend their meeting, held on the last day of each month. At his next visit, he would learn what he must give in exchange for his powers. Baba Kitty, Boko, and Frank thanked him and left the temple. Baba Kitty led them to a door at the back of the temple, and upon passing through, they found themselves in another strange, dark forest. The sky was red, with neither sun nor moon, and the trees stretched so high that their tops were invisible. Boko and Frank followed Baba Kitty to a massive solitary tree, taller than the others and resembling a human figure with water flowing from its trunk. Baba Kitty instructed Boko to collect water from this tree, which he did without hesitation. Once they had gathered the water, they returned to the church. They were happy to have succeeded and surprised at the ease of the task, still unaware of the heavy price they would eventually have to pay. Following the instructions, they sprinkled the water in the four corners of the church. Boko applied the substance to his lips and went out to preach in the streets. During his sermon, he saw a blind man singing and begging. Boko approached, prayed for him, and suddenly the man regained his sight. He began to rejoice, and the astonished passers-by asked what had happened. The man, blind from birth, explained that thanks to Boko, he could now see. People, amazed by this miracle, asked where his church was located. Very soon, Boko's church was flooded with crowds of followers, so many that the benches were no longer sufficient. Some people stood outside just to listen to his sermons. Boko continued to perform miracles and wonders thanks to the substance given by the great master. Within 3 weeks, he moved to a larger hall and bought more chairs to accommodate his growing congregation. At the end of the month, it was time for Boko to attend the meeting. Just like every other pastor, businessman, politician, and influential figure who came to Master Lulu to obtain power and success, Boko drew a line on the wall as the master had taught him, and once again, a portal to that strange world appeared. He passed through it and was stunned to see so many preachers, including those he had never heard of. Some he knew, and even high-ranking politicians and well-known entrepreneurs, just as Baba Kitty had said. When the meeting began, Boko was called to present himself before everyone, as he was a new member. He was to be introduced to the others and informed of the things he had to offer in exchange for the powers that Lulu would grant him. As he stood before the master, the latter consulted Lulu, and after a few incantations, announced that the price to pay for his powers would be a sacrifice. Each month, one member of his church would have to be sacrificed to Lulu, but the member would be chosen randomly by Lulu, not by Boko himself. Boko laughed when he heard the price he had to pay, initially thinking it would be difficult to bear. He told the master that he had no problem with it, saying, "Even if you want 10 members, go ahead, as long as my powers remain intact." After this meeting, Boko continued to preach and perform miracles. His church expanded, moving from the small hall to an immense auditorium. He became very well known and immensely wealthy, driving luxurious cars and moving around the city with bodyguards. One day, he decided it was time for him to get married. In his church, there was a member named Afi, a beautiful woman with an angelic voice who led the choir. Boko had feelings for her, so he proposed to her, saying that the Lord had appeared to him in a dream and had told him that she would be his wife. Afi was very happy, as becoming Boko's wife meant that all the women in the church would look up to her as their mother and respect her. She accepted his proposal, and they had a lavish, extravagant wedding that the town talked about for a long time. 6 months after Boko began using Lulu's powers to build his ministry, a new member named Gress joined his church. Having heard of his powerful spiritual gifts, she decided to join. Gress was a deeply devoted Christian, sincere in her commitment to God, and she believed Boko was a true man of God with spiritual gifts from God himself, unaware that he was quite the opposite of what she thought. As she started attending the church, Gress got involved in several ministries to better serve God. Boko noticed her dedication and sincerity toward the things of God and decided to appoint her as a deaconess in his church. However, at the end of the month, when Boko attended the meeting with the spiritual realm of Lulu to renew his powers, Lulu chose Gress, the new deaconess, as the next sacrifice in exchange for Boko's powers. Once chosen, Lulu began to afflict her with various illnesses and misfortunes. Each time Gress consulted a doctor, she was told that she was fine and that her problems were not medical. She went to various hospitals for tests, but all confirmed that she was healthy and that the machines couldn't detect anything abnormal in her. Yet her health continued to deteriorate rapidly. What will happen to Gress? Will she die from the illnesses that plague her, paying with her life for sins she knows nothing about? We will find out in the next episodes. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and share if you enjoyed this story.